nuns in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and has been done so for about 1,000 years, roughly. The five great books of Buddhist philosophy, that of wisdom, middle way, perception, phenomenology, and Vinaya. We're going to get to talk about that tonight. So it's a condensed version of that with practical application in modern life. So it's your invitation to say, can I consider this experience I call life in a slightly different way than the way I got brainwashed through the Western view of the world, which is mostly out there are particles and I can move them around and I'll be happy. And it doesn't consider a whole bunch of other things. So I'm going to try and brainwash you into an Eastern philosophical view, so your brains can then have a fight about, wait, with this idea and this idea, what do I experience really? And then you'll come to your own realization moment. London Luck is here too. Hello. Ethiopia in the house. Hi, welcome. I miss you. I miss you too. So tonight's class is the class on Vinaya. Before we do that, and I'll explain Vinaya, etc., it just boils down to why is ethics important? And it's a powerful question for us living in New York, Manhattan, 2018. Before we start that, we usually try and, before we teach anything of substance, before trying to challenge our view of the world to one that hopefully can serve us stronger, we check our motivation. So we imagine a perfect universe where beings have complete understanding of the world. We create a perfect world, a mandala, and we offer that to those beings that teach us, and that's called the mandala offering. It's a whole cultural thing. All you have to think about is, if I imagined a perfect world, what would it be like? And if there was someone that could teach me how to get there, may I feel that, experience that, and offer it to them. It's a mental trick to get your mind to do that. So you don't have to do the ritual, but if you do, you're welcome. Stephen?
Sashi Pugir Jishin Metotram Rira Lingshin Yinde Yumpari Sangye Shindu Rite Duari Drokun Namda Shinla Chuparsho Hidam Guru Ratnamandala Kamyatayami Sangye Chidam Soki Chotnamba Janchu Bardu Dakmi Gasuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Sonamki Droga Venjir Sangye Drupasho Sangye Chidam Soki Chotnamba Janchu Bardu Dakmi Gasuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Sonamki Droga Venjir Sangye Drupasho Sangye Chidam Soki Chotnamba Janchu Bardu Dakmi Gapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Sonamki Droga Venjir Sangye Drupasho.
So I'm just going to invite you to check in with yourself and say, your life as it has been going along till now, is that okay? Are you happy with that? Is that the way it should continue? Is that the way it's going to continue? Or is there something different that you'd like, something greater? why the hell did you come here in the first place? If that thing is motivating you to improve, get better, and your mind can access that, I invite you to try and become that person in the next 2 hours while we listen to an Eastern philosophical view of how this world can transform from a realm that sometimes works to a realm that always works. That's the premise. And I don't want to, I'm going to use weird Sanskrit words, Tibetan concepts, etc. But I don't want you learning that stuff. I'm not here to teach you Buddhism. Yeah, Buddhism is the vehicle through which we can get access to our own realizations to what is it in this experience of being and life that I can use to turn on, really turn on, and not just be like a dead fish down the stream and go wherever life is taking me. You actually have power around where your life goes. But to get access to that power, you got to know where it's coming from. And it ain't out there moving pieces around. It ain't getting the right job and then you'll be happy. It ain't getting enough ice cream and then you'll be okay. It ain't doing the jog every morning and then you won't get sick. We know that's not it. That might all help, but there might be a deeper cause that this proposes. I'm not asking anyone to believe it. If you've been studying the 6-year course, I'm asking you to go deeper than you have in the last 6 years, to go, hold on, where am I in that idea? If this is new to you, I'm asking you to go, hold on, do I think this or that in relation to the key concepts we're covering tonight? Are we good with that? Anyone not interested? Good. What are we talking about? So there's two big ideas, two big concepts that you'll hear in Eastern philosophical thought. One is samsara. You might have seen a painting like this called the Wheel of Life, the Baba Chakra, and it's a big red monster holding a wheel. Yeah. That wheel is representative of our cycles, our habits of experiencing life. Yeah, mini habits, like I want to get happy, so I'm going to get that job. I just spent 5 years, $200,000, and now I'm an engineer. Yeah. Exciting. And then I'm going to pay back the $200,000 and I don't like engineering. Yeah. Down cycle. But it gave me an opportunity to do something else. Up cycle, now I can be this kind of engineer and it's sort of working for me. Down cycle, no, I still hate that too. Yeah, and you do that until you're 65. The main chunk of your working life you spend giving away to someone else in exchange for 2 weeks vacation, and then you retire. And then you've got a couple of years before you bye-bye. I know it's exciting and really positive view of the world. I'm being sarcastic, but I'm also being real. Yeah, tell me someone how many humans don't have to do that? But we buy into that idea. Is there a different way of being? And it might still be being an engineer. And it might still be, I'm not enjoying it. But your action towards that might be different and your result might be different than the thing we're normal at. Do we all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm not shocking anyone with reality. Good. So we're going to cover the idea of samsara, these cycles that we experience. We've covered it in other courses, but in essence, the teaching tonight will cover, well, let's give a hard look at what it is that I'm doing with my life, and is it part of those cycles? Is it held by this big red monster, which isn't a real red monster, by the way, right? It's the idea of impermanence, that everything that comes up must come down. The idea that everything that arises, dependent on causes and conditions, must break down. And thinking it won't is a problem, because you'll be disappointed. Yeah, I remember my first time coming to the Three Jewels. It was on 5th Street. And I didn't know very much about it. It was my first week or something. And there was this young kid. I was in my 20s. He was like 17 or younger. And he had a guru. And I thought he was a weirdo, a complete weird guy. The guru was Indian and he was into Eastern philosophy. And I'm like, weirdo. And we'd sit on the stoop and I'd be having my cigarettes. Yeah. And he'd be, and I'm a happy person usually. I'm like, hey. And he's like, don't get too happy. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, don't get too happy. Like he was digging at me, trying to triggered me. I'm like, why? Yes, because you'll get sad. What are you talking about? You know, and it stuck with me. So 23 years, don't get too happy. Thinking the happiness is in the stuff you're doing, because you'll get sad when that breaks down. Samsara. Yeah? So that's what he meant. I didn't know that. I thought he was just being an ass. And then there's this other concept. So that doesn't have to be. This is a big premise in Eastern philosophy, okay? I don't want you being Buddhists. I keep saying it in every class. We're teaching through a Buddhist lens, yeah? But Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. Buddha was a dude who went, what the hell? Let me figure it out. Figured it out. Saw something in reality, not in blah, blah heaven, okay? Like saw something in reality and said, cause and effect never fail. Every experience my consciousness is having is also caused. So samsara, cycles, ups and downs, must also be caused. The breaking down of things must also be caused. Is there a way to uncause it? I'm not moving from this tree until I figure it out. Summary, you know, condense, sure. And so he then saw something, he didn't invent something, yeah? No one invented gravity. They just described an is, around the is, yeah? He described around the is, and that breaks samsara. Are we cool with that idea? Yeah, summary. That is called nirvana. Nirvana is represented by a moon in that same painting, and it destroys the cycle of samsara. Yeah? Two big ideas. Samsara, ups and downs. Things get happy, things get sad. When you're attached to happy, you get sad, right? There's a cause for all of that. There's also a cause for you experiencing that. That can stop. It's called nirvana. When that permanently stops, it's called nirvana. Your mind no longer experiences what is in an up and down kind of broken way. Yeah? Okay. So, before we go into that, that's the introduction of what we're covering today. We have to review where we came from, summarizing last week's class. And the way we do that usually is I break you up into 4 little groups or big groups, and you get to introduce yourself to each other. The people that were here last week get to practice saying the stuff they learned and the challenges they had in getting to those ideas, and you talk about it in real terms. And then after you do that, which we're calling a quiz, yeah, 1 piece of paper per group, all your names on it. You get to know who you are. You get to go through last week's concepts in a real way. Then we can start class. So I'm going to invite Sarah in this corner. I'm going to ask Paul, can you go that corner with Rachel? Yeah, in that corner. Stephen, that corner, and we've got Supriya this corner. Yeah, so find a person or a corner that you like. I'll give them sheets of paper. You have 15 minutes to hang out, get to know each other, say hi, and then we'll begin. I'll call your attention here, and we can start. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is to share. Oh, she's got yours. Okay. And welcome, everyone, to nice, sticky, hot rituals. You don't know her? Yuki. Okay, cool.
First letter of your last name. So like I'm Everyone, okay, so introduce yourself as you go. That way, I'm not the only one Steven.
Ni me di cuenta que era vos. Oh my God. I thought you were a guy that was sitting here last week. Sorry, guys. Wow. Ahora me acuerdo que haces. Welcome. I'll interrupt you later. Yeah. Oh, come.
Actually, yeah. So the first question we look for other stuff, even though I mean like course and using the same but I said like
That's so awesome. So happy to. I kept looking at you and I'm like, you look a little different to the guy the other week. Why? Maybe I didn't remember it right. Wow. What up?
So we're gonna guess first.
Yeah, it's like
we're gonna say California.
So it's 10, 59 zeros. Should we look average? Refers to the number 10. Compared to
No, it's 10 to the 60th power. 10, 59 zeros. Yeah. 10 to the 60th power is 10 to 59 zeros. Exactly. Yeah. I know it's confusing. I'm like, what? I actually don't know. Way more.
This would be the life yeah. So, number 6, name the 4 years of the contemplation.
Years. Okay.
These questions ask for very specific answers. But let's take a guess. And then we'll find out exactly what do you think?
Oh, okay, this is pretty basic. This is like outline. The outline is
Those are different portions.
Don't forget to talk about why we're talking about these things. Don't just give the answers. Yeah. Oh, it's 10 to the 6, like it's a bloody long time, and there are faster methods to get there.
And if you threw them out the way.
Get here, yeah.
Recount the field.
Yeah.
And concentrate on zero.
You can say that. You can say that if you have the courses, but they don't know what tantra is, maybe.
And they only activate their like.
so you already did a lot of
Because tantra is actually part of it's like the idea of number 1, empowering others. Tantra is like like you're talking about yourself, right? And more difficult. So they say that it's actually feeling attention, like sharing and you're aware of
I already had in that same like,
Okay.
and then there's a girl and then so like all the sections
Basically, all the like what's
you can go every morning and
number 3, I think she's gonna
unless you truly feel
if it doesn't answer,
and
that's
the
like
like,
describe the awareness of death, which is not being one, which we see
yeah, but I like
describe the awareness of death, which is not the one which we see develop.
and then that's what you want. Then you don't
Those years, time is different.
Awareness of death is not the one which we seek to develop.
Okay, so step one is contemplate the expansion, not
No, it's saying which aware, like say there's a list of
the second word is what are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? Not thinking about that.
You probably want to develop that.
And
Oh, you know what it is, right?
what depth awareness is.
Being, I think what you said is right. Being scared of death. And like, yeah. So you want to develop. You want to develop your awareness of death.
What it is,
And use that
and then how does that work?
motivator.
That's part of
Practice. But you don't want to become like you don't want to become aware of that and you like scared all the time. Like, oh my God,
Describe the awareness that is not the one You are? Oh, cool. So that's how you could answer the question.
The person can feel when fear fears they are it's fear saturates around you. And it's a natural fear when there's never attempted any kind of action. So that's not the awareness of the reason why this is so much because there's many experimentation and in the Buddhist teaching and not in the Buddhist that are around like pretend you're dying. Imagine keeping all of your loved ones forever. Imagine your body like and they're valid, right? But it's
this 3 resolutions that we should
actually
make
not
after
the right
understanding the 9 reasons.
you're terrified and you're not, it's not going to be assertive. So the one
3 resolutions that we should make after understanding the 9 reasons for the 3 So
the awareness
they're asking for 3 resolutions.
that
They're talking about,
you're
they're
studying
talking
your
about
life.
the 3 principal paths, which is what we learned is 1, pronunciation.
So the idea is to kind of turn up the volume on the so it's your life. And how's the message part your ethics and moral?
That's important.
I don't know what 3 principles are referring to.
We must No, we got it.
And that's
Going along all these things, is thinking about every day, going thing by thing that I really appreciate, and knowing not a single one.
Like, I don't know. We must have. Would that be?
Number two, can you finish? No, we can dive. Then you finish. Then on the last question. Then on the last question.
Almost say that your resolution is to make after understanding the mind reasons to know yourself. Okay, station 3, resolution that we should make.
So you did like not actual meditation, but in your life.
That's what we do. Not really true there.
Our questions will.
Can you read those loud so everybody can these are the first things that we have to report.
There's three.
Sorry,
One of those questions.
I agree. There's so many though. There's so many. I agree with you.
There is no time for
Sorry, I just missed those. Those are the three
life
principles.
can.
And then each of those has an aspect, has
Many
three
people will
aspects.
kill us.
So you remember I said this was not the one that that's church. That's one of the principles.
And then the last one, only
The reason under that is that is
material.
you can't have that's part of it as well.
You do, if you think about it.
So, the three resolutions.
Why do you think so? Okay, I think you should have.
Not the parts. No, it's not the three principal parts. It's the three principles of it will happen. You don't know when. It's certain. You don't know when. And Dharma's the only thing you take on. Yeah, it's not no. What are you gonna do about it? It's like it's gonna happen. Then I better learn my. I begin a practice today. It could happen tonight. Yeah. I've got to practice. I'm going to start to practice tonight, and everything I'm going to do is deep in practice. Like it's all about since you don't know when, since it's certain, and you don't know when, and there isn't anything that can help you. Practice. That's really. That's the summary. No, the three principles are. Time is uncertain, and only stuff in your consciousness can help you.
And then you have.
Whatever is the strongest thing.
Based on that information, there's these resolutions.
So it's not like you wanted to,
Based on all that, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. There's no certainty of like. The average person has to be 75. You're not the average person. You should be the outlier. Right? So it doesn't
Practice.
based on knowing that.
I think.
Knowing that. Oh my gosh, you're not
Did you get it wrong?
I just wrote.
Oh, you are so bad. Someone help Sarah be a good student, please. Thanks, Sarah. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time.
Right, it's a nice concept.
For me,
It's not
when I
emotional.
started reading through the.
You ready? You didn't answer.
And you write it down.
I wrote practice. There's 3 sections. At least run it 3 times. On top of each other.
But that's the
You
motivation.
said that you don't want to waste your time, so you could probably start your and then solve that. And then the last thing is not about that work and it's fine. Like, so you do go down and then it's like, no, I just, I don't know what.
I'm going to compare the answers. Remember, just by shame Yeah, you do. Yeah. Okay, Jeremy, did you guys win Buddhism? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
it's probably the official blog of Buddhism. But I definitely agree with that. I like
So like last year, but we watched this.
Hannibal has a feeling in this room doing this stuff. Good? We miss you so much.
His body, he had a gigantic tumor in his stomach, and we were actually watching it last night. It's a reality of that.
My definition
Especially, you know, he's like for 10 athletes or every rapid, and they don't really save time. And it's just
You guys ready? It's time. Sarah, can you get the rowdy crowd?
Can we get we talked about it. It's like we recognize
No time at all. Can you make it photo friendly so I can take a nice photo of everyone? So I try your stuff.
right now.
Gently. Yeah. It was really nice to hear you all discussing death on a Thursday night I mean, everyone is out on the street, it's warm, it's nice, they're drinking up, they're walking around, they're having fun, which we should all have fun, right? But to me, there's a special something going on if there's a group of people who are trying to investigate life as it really is, not avoiding what it really is. And so I need to make you a little sad first. Is it okay? Sorry, I'm going to make you a little sad. If you were here a couple of classes ago, I showed a video from a documentary from the BBC about the process of a man
last week.
Was it last week?
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago for me. I had a busy week.
Busy couple.
Wow. Okay. That was last week.
That was last week.
So last week I showed a video, which was a strong video of a person diagnosed with stomach cancer, and going through the death process. He agreed to be filmed in this documentary some 20 years ago in Scotland or Ireland. Same. Sorry, internet. And it was strong. Like I remember the first time I saw that, it was really a powerful thing because we hide away from that reality, and the fact of that reality is this big red thing. Yeah, it's one of the impermanences of samsara. It's the one that we talked about in your quiz just now. What I didn't know was going on, my mum was put in hospital that evening in Australia, and she got diagnosed that night with a cancer in her stomach, in her pancreas. Yeah, I found out that diagnosis yesterday, and the details of that today. So as strong as we felt in this room a week ago, it pales in comparison to what she's going through. Minutes before that diagnosis yesterday, she thought she had something wrong. It was pancreatitis, pancreatitis, and it'll be okay, you know. And then a couple of words shifted that entire reality to it's not okay. And then that impact was shared amongst us siblings and her friends and so on. So in one moment we're okay, and the next moment we're not okay. I feel deeply thankful that I've got 20 years of training to know what to do, because and we had, you know, we had the phone calls, we had the natural human reaction, which is shock, surprise, tears when she told me the words "I have cancer." She began the conversation quite naturally, you know, "Hi mom, hi. So what did the doctor say?" And then those words came out, and she broke down, and I broke down. And Steve heard it over the speaker. It was devastating. It is devastating when you get to hear whatever the cause is for each of you. It will be devastating. Doesn't matter how much we practice in this room, but the practice we have in this room, the study we have on a Thursday night, is way more than the surprise the majority of humanity will have when those words come to them. Yeah, the preparation you're doing just by spending 15 minutes by going, hold on, is death certain? Yeah, it's certain. Hold on, do I know when it's coming? No. Could it happen when I'm 20? Yeah. Could it happen when I'm 90? Yeah. Is there anything I can do to change that? No. Can throwing money at it extend it? Not for my mum today. Is there anything that I can buy her another 2 hours? No. It will be what it will be. Yeah. Will chemo help? For some it does, for some it doesn't. Yeah. Will having herbal tea twice a day help? For some it does, for some it doesn't. The reality of that is, you know, we're talking about it, we're describing it, right? We're discussing it. The reality of that, I felt it when her word said, "I've got cancer." And then her voice broke. And it hit her, and then it hit me. And then we cried a little bit. And then I said something stupid by mistake. And she made a joke about what I said, and then we both laughed uncontrollably for about 2 minutes, really loud and nervously, but also fun, right? She said, "You know, like, I wouldn't want my kids to die before me." And I'm like, "No, either do I." And then I realized what I said. And she's like, "Oh, you Buddhists are really compassionate." I'm like, "No, Mom, that's not what I meant." So then we giggled and the ice broke, and it was blissful, you know. And she's got a strong mind, and she's clear, and she's thought about it, and she's helped people die, and her work has been helping people pass away. But the reality of that, it is horrific. And I hope you don't have to go through it, and you will. You just don't know when. All of us here have something that will end it. And some of us might know what that is. Like my mum now knows the prognosis for pancreatic cancer is 75% of people will go away within a year. Yeah. 85% of people will go away within 5 years, with or without chemo. Guaranteed statistically. Could she be the 10%? Maybe. Could she be the 15%? Maybe. Is there anything we can do about it? We're going to try. But the words we were covering today is this monster depicted and described by the Buddha about the impermanence and the attachment we have to the thing we think we're permanent. And if we live, now my mum's life today is very different than it was a week ago, not 2 weeks ago, when we sat here and showed that video. Very different. She wants, through the breaking down and crying, she's like, "I'm actually not scared of dying. I don't like pain. I don't want the pain. I'm a little bit unsure of what's to come, and I thought I was sure, and that's a little scary." So her mind is now looking at the world in a completely different way. She's like, "The main thing that makes me cry, if I analyze it, besides all the weird noise that my mind is now throwing at me with stupid ideas, is that I don't want my kids to miss me. I don't want to cause some hurt in the children I brought into this world because they will miss me or they'll see me suffer. And that was the thing that hurt her the most in the conversation we had. But did those words cause all those reactions for her? It appeared so, right? The doctor said you have cancer, and then our reality shifted. The teaching of the Buddha says your mind just labeled those words in a certain way. If you understand that based upon that basis, the words and the reality, you are now having a complete conception, change of heart about the way you are in the world. That's really where your world comes from. And my mum, because of her training, isn't that scared of turning off or dying. She's a little, like, she's able to be analytical about it. She's seen enough people die in her life. She's helped enough people die. She's a nurse, so she's helped enough people go through the process to know that for some people it's excruciating pain, physical and mental. For others, it's not, it's quick. So she's more concerned about that, but mostly concerned about the kids. Yeah. Is that going to happen to everybody in that order? The answer is no. Your own minds are going to bring up whatever stuff you've put in your mind or your mind has developed over the life that we've been cycling doing our stuff. And when that moment comes, when the last question comes for you, the last question is like, it's certain, you don't know when, and the only thing that will help you, Buddha said, is Dharma. And he doesn't mean you have to be a Buddhist and learn the Dharma. He means Dharma as in the imprints in your mind, the stuff you've filled your mind with while you were busy doing all the other bullshit, including the work, including the gardening, including the relationships, including the sex, including the boring, including the movies, including the restaurants, including the friendships, including the ACI classes. See, there's nothing about sitting in the ACI classes that is gonna give you wisdom. The Dharma that you take with you is just the stuff that is going on in your mind while you're sitting in a room listening to a Hector talk. It's the action, because you're all having a slightly different impression based on your past actions of what it is you're hearing here tonight. You're all thinking about it in the same way. Some of you are going, I don't want to hear this. I want to go dance with those people, yeah? Other people are going, oh my God, that's so harsh. I want to help and I can't help and that hurts me. Some people are like, oh my God, I'm scared. I don't, like some of us, we're all thinking differently because of our past action, and the way we're thinking about it will determine our future experience, just like it's determining my mum's reality right now. Like right now in Australia, they're waking up. It's like 6 a.m. They're waking up. She's leaving the hospital today. She gets to go home before a whole bunch of appointments on Monday for her. That kind of death awareness, the awareness that it is happening, even though it doesn't seem so, and the energy that we get out of those last three resolutions, which are, you know, it's certain, therefore you should begin some kind of practice. It doesn't mean become a good Buddhist. It means change your life for it to be meaningful. Do the things, if you understand how to turn on life, how to stop the cycles and reach for nirvana, a state of mind that has peace, yeah, an experience of being that has peace. Reach for enlightenment. Stop these cycles, because that's going to keep happening. And since you don't know when it's coming, at least my mum knows when. She has a time frame where it could be possible that somebody in this room might go before her. We don't know. Certainly somebody in New York will go before her today. They don't know. So they're walking around putting stuff in their minds that will have a result in their lives, meaning their minds that create the experience of being will force them to experience that reality in a way that is congruent to what they spent their lives doing. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it's a wake-up call. Death is a wake-up call to live. And if you get it early enough, you can transform that stuff in your mind. So when the time comes for this body to stop doing, the theory is, the Buddha said, you can destroy the forces of the Lord of Death like an elephant crushing a house of reeds. And what that means is the whole experience of, oh my God, I'm dying, and that is a terrible thing, and it's afraid, whatever, that will go away. Your state of mind will not be afflicted as perhaps the body changes, but your conception of that experience does not necessarily have to be, oh my God, it's terrible, I'm dying. That's possible in the Buddhist theory. So with that foundation, we left that class, we left that course, and now we enter 1/5 of the Buddhist teaching, or 1/3 of the Buddhist teaching, depending which way you slice it, on the teaching on the ethical way of life. And I really didn't understand the connection between ethics and religious activity on this planet. As I was a child, being told by my priest, thou shalt, I thought, shut up, none of your business. I know most of you have heard, when I grew up in Argentina, my mum was going to be a nun. She wasn't, right? Thanks, Dad. And so I thought we all had to go to church every Sunday because that's what happened. Everyone went to church on Sunday. I thought because she was going to be a nun, we were like stuck with that forever. I didn't know that she really is whatever. Yeah. I didn't know that, so I kept going. Around the age of 8, it was the first time I had to do my confession. Yeah. And I'm like, I've never done this. I'm sort of awkward. I have to go to the priest and tell him a whole bunch of things. And honestly, an 8-year-old, I didn't know that, like, I didn't think I did anything bad, honestly. Yeah, I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. And the priest is there talking to me, going, there must be something bad that you did. And I'm like, no. Seriously, I'm like, it's a vivid memory. And he's like, are you sure? Is there anything you did to your sisters? I'm like, in my mind, no, they're bitches. Yeah. In Spanish. Yeah. I'm like, no, like they deserved it. Like my mind was going, I've done nothing wrong. And his pushing is like, come on, there must be. And then he got weird. He got weird about what you do to your sister. And I'm like, I didn't do anything to my sister. Like you're getting fantasies or something. Like I thought he was going weird. And so anyway, he got frustrated and he gave me, I don't know if it was 150 Hail Marys or however many blah blahs I had to do. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I went over, knelt down, looking at Christ, and I'm like, I'm just swearing at him 150 times, right? Like I'm planting the worst seeds, like to swear at the priest instead of doing the Hail Marys. I just like wished he ran away. And then I went home and I'm like, Mom, I don't want to go to church. That made me feel really bad. And she's like, oh, you don't have to. I'm like, well, so I never went there again. Until my confirmation, because everyone had to do that. Anyway, side story. I didn't understand the idea of confession, of ethics, and of morality, of being a certain behavior on the planet, and the reach for a spiritual awakening. Yeah, I didn't understand it because of that experience and where I grew up, etc. And it wasn't until I studied these courses that I realized the important connection, and it's yours to own. So I'm going to share, that's the core content of tonight. So I'm going to invite you that the motivation for being in this topic, the topic of ethical way of life, is not to gain more knowledge of, oh, the Buddhists think this way. Is to get some kind of awakening moment, some experience in your mind to go, oh, I just got something about my life that I didn't have before I get diagnosed, before I become Hector's mom. Yeah, again, that was a Buddhist joke for those. Yeah. You got it?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I thought. So the study of Buddhist ethics and Buddhist an ethical way of life of ethics. What else did I call it? Morality, yeah, thanks, which is sort of weird words because they're loaded in English, is called Vinaya, or in Tibetan Dulwa. Yeah, and for those of you that have been in class before, in this course, do you remember what they mean? Vinaya or Dulwa? What's the Vinaya is the Sanskrit, Dulwa is the Tibetan. Yeah, good. It's actually the word for taming an animal, taming a horse. Yeah, Dulwa. To Dulwa is to tame, to discipline. I think I put them down there. To control, to bring under the control or influence. Yeah, it's sort of like, it's a word about taming, controlling. What are we controlling? What are we taming? Our minds, yeah? Our tendency for our minds to have afflictions. Our mind has afflictions. The wheel of that big red monster runs only because our minds have 84,000 afflictions listed by the Tibetans, right? 10 of which are like the top 10, 3 of which are like very important, one of which is like the one you want to cut at the root of all the mental trouble and real trouble we have come from misunderstanding the world we're living in. Yeah, so we're taming this mind from those afflictions. Yeah, and the implication is like a horse. It takes hard work to force a big beast to do what you need to do. Coincidentally, the word for a disciple, teacher disciple relationship, right? A disciple is duja. Duja? Yeah. That one that's being dulwad, which I find interesting because my teacher's still doing that. Yeah. I just thought that was an interesting thing as an aside. Now, there's a bunch of people's commentaries from which we get the Vinaya or the teachings on discipline, but Master Dharmabhadra is one of them. And he says, we call Vinaya because, and you've got it right, it treats ethical behavior of abandoning the causes of our mental afflictions, the bad deeds, the 7 bad deeds. If anybody knows what they mean, let me know, along with their group, to tame the mental afflictions and as well as control the senses. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about that. What are the 7 bad deeds?
So the first 7 of the 10 non-virtues.
Why did you say that?
Because it's a bad deeds.
Because they're a body.
Because all the bodies of the body.
Cool. So it's your actions of body and speech. So in Buddhism, you have these 10 commandments almost, right? Which are the summary of the 84,000 terrible things that our mind will do. There are top 10 that really cause the majority of the pain. If we can get rid of them, that would help us slow down the cycling process. Yeah. And the first 7 deal with actions of body and actions of speech. The last 3 are actions of mind, and that's dealt somewhere else. But what I also like about Master Dharmabhadra's explanation about why is control or taming called taming, why is Vinaya called Vinaya, he says it as well as control the senses. And if you think about it, we are forever serving these senses. The ice cream is to get that buzz. The relationship is to get that, right? Or whatever you get out of that. I could have done many descriptions, but I chose that one. Yeah. We are forever serving this thing, so the senses can get off. But if you think about it, it's insatiable. There isn't enough ice cream for you to say, I'm okay now. I am at peace. There isn't enough that will satisfy you before what's happening to my mum will happen to you. And it won't even stop that either. You see what I mean? But you can find whatever thing you want to put in your mouth to satisfy the tongue, and it won't ever be enough. The same for visual candy, right? Who put up your hand if you don't look at humans on the subway and think, oh, they're nice? Try not to is another story, yeah? Put up your hand if you try not to. Yeah, okay. It's like we think by looking, we're going to go, because sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't, but because sometimes we do, we go searching for it. And that is the engine that drives that wheel. We think that is out there. So I'm going to go looking, forgetting the implications of that looking. The looking lets you habituate that looking is okay. Then if I just sit next to them next time, it's okay. And then I just rub a little bit on the shoulder, it's okay. 3 weeks later, there's someone sitting quietly on the subway and you're like, and they're like, what are you doing? Get out. And they call the police and you're in trouble. Sorry. But I thought interesting that in the description, he's saying, taming will be taming your mind because your mind is experiencing all of this. There isn't stuff you can do out there to fix your mind. You fix your mind, you fix out there. You got that? And discipline, the practice of discipline, of ethics, and I'll make the link for you, is the thing that changes the lens. Change the lens, the reality shifts. Now, in the process, control these bloody things that want to connect. Tame them a little bit. You can't, you will enjoy visual things, but your mind doesn't have to follow the way I just described it. You will and must enjoy ice cream if you like ice cream and not lactose intolerant, and if you like, was it Van Leeuwen, vegan, disgusting, coconut-filled grossness. Yeah, if you enjoy that, then go for it. I'm sure Buddha will punish you when you get to heaven. That was a joke. That was a joke. That doesn't happen. Yeah. But it proves that there's no self-existence, there's no nature of yummy in Van Leeuwen's vegan ice cream, right? For me, it's the most disgusting thing. I'll give you a thing. So I went and I enjoyed like dulce de leche ice cream. Yeah. So I went to get some other. He actually forced me to get the Van Leeuwen dairy dulce de leche ice cream, which I did and enjoyed like half a tub in one sitting. Yeah. The second sitting, the second half, right? Finish the spoon. My tongue was excited and happy, right? And Stephen, knowing me well, decides to go, just like I'm washing the dishes, and then he comes at me with a spoon of ice cream and just puts it in front of me. What do I do? Without thinking, I didn't tame the senses, yeah? But did mental afflictions arise? Absolutely. Why? Because it was disgusting, vegan, coconut-filled Van Leeuwen ice cream. Okay? And that's all I had left for the whole evening. My tongue was empty. Thanks, Stephen. It's horrible, right? Isn't it terrible? Yeah. I also appreciate it. Maybe it's the cause for me to be vegan. Yeah, maybe it will become the cause. Maybe it was his intention to try and turn me vegan. Anyway, so the Buddhist teaching, you've heard of the words Tripitaka? Yeah, Tripitaka. It's not just a character in Monkey Magic or the 12 Journey to the West. Yeah, it's not just one character in Journey to the West, the famous Chinese story from the 1200s.
Yeah, 1200 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Anyway, this is a library, I think it's in Korea, of the Tripitaka, the three baskets, the collection of the Buddhist work in three big groups. The way that Hinayanas usually or traditionally group these things. These are wooden blocks, and the monks and nuns there are inking and making paper copies of that. I need you to understand that traditionally these three baskets are the basket on discipline, Vinaya, the Vinaya Pitaka, the Sutra Pitaka, so a group of Buddhist lectures, mostly about taming your mind, about concentration, mind training. Yeah, so one is a whole set of rules and regulations on discipline, yeah, on Vinaya. One whole basket of work is to do with mind training, training your mind to do the hell you want it to, meditation, yeah, bringing your mind where you choose, not letting the mind do what it wants to do. That's called Sutra Pitaka. And then Abhidharma Pitaka, which is all the teachings on wisdom, emptiness, the way reality exists, phenomenology, etc. Yeah, metaphysics. So 3 great groupings of the Buddhist teachings: ethics, Vinaya, mind training, Sutra Pitaka. Yeah, like get to meditate, use your mind to put it on an object you choose, and wisdom, see reality in a specific way. That's going to be useful for us to understand what I'm going to cover later. We got that? Yep. Thank you. So now, if you see a number on the top right-hand side and it's yellow, in the circle is yellow and the thing is red, it might be a question in your homework, if you're doing homeworks. So it is said that the subject matter of the Vinaya Pitaka, of all the teachings on discipline, on duwa, on taming the mind, are the highest teachings of the Buddha. Now, if you've studied enough Buddhism, you'll know that every single teaching is the highest teaching of the Buddha, right? And it should motivate you to go, listen to this one. It's the highest one you've ever heard, yeah? And when you hear the Bodhisattvas, way of life, it will be the highest, yeah? And the 6 perfections are the best, and the teachings on wisdom are the only, yeah? And after a while, you'll get to realize why that's true, and they are, yeah? But there's 2 reasons they give why that is true for Vinaya. And one is that it groups the entire collection of his teachings in one thing, yeah? So you can grab his entire instruction, his words, his concepts, his way of grouping the ideas that should help us in one thing. And because they're all there, it's a substitute for him. And he said it himself, he goes, if Vinaya is taught truly anywhere, I, the Buddha, I'm actually there. Which is an interesting question. If Vinaya, if the teaching on discipline is understood, properly got, yeah, properly taught and properly got, if you get the connection between how reality functions and getting a spiritual trip and ethics, if you get that, which is the essence of Vinaya, Buddha's in the room. An enlightened being, a Buddha is a being who woke up, is in the room, yeah? Not just Ethiopia in the house. We there? We got that? Cool. So in that sense, it really is his highest teaching, because if you're not doing anything else and you're understanding the connection between your behavior and your outcomes to get out of that cycle, that's it. That's the Buddhist trip. You get out of the things that trip you up to suffer. And the way to get out is your behavior. It ain't going to be out there, doing things out there. Moving chairs, moving jobs, moving relationships, getting more money, getting less money, getting vegan ice cream or non-vegan ice cream. One of the commentaries comes from Tsongkhapa, who's like the head of the lineage. He taught the first Dalai Lama in, do you remember his dates? 1357 to 14. 19. You sure?
Yes.
Thank you. Excellent. That was me trying to trick you. Yeah. So he says, look, by the time, so Tsongkhapa was like the great reformer in Tibet. He's like, there's all these weird practices from Buddhist thought that came from India. I better check them out and see what works, what doesn't work. So he got teachings from all over the place. Like, does this actually help my life? Does this actually function? Can I use this? And he grouped these. He was a great reformer, getting all these teachings from India, from all the different traditions, and saying, this is why this works, this is why this doesn't work, this is how you should apply this. I got this from this and that. And then he wrote it all down, and there began the lineage of the Dalai Lamas. He was one of his students, right? So he said that at the time that he was practicing and teaching, the idea, the link between the three extraordinary trainings, this concept of there are three things you can train on which are extraordinary, and they relate to the Pitakas, yeah? If you train yourself on the stuff in these three baskets in an extraordinary way, what does extraordinary mean here? Extraordinary training.
Probably would correct you. You.
Why would it be the extraordinary training of discipline, the extraordinary training of meditation, the extraordinary training?
Different from the normal, I mean, different from what you have been doing.
Exactly. You can go and become an engineer, yeah? It ain't an extraordinary training because the result will not be extraordinary. Becoming an engineer will give you an ordinary result. You will end up at some hospital like my mum, even though you might be the best engineer. The extraordinary training leads you out of samsara and into nirvana. Extraordinary meaning beyond the ordinary, outside the circle. Does that make sense? Yeah, so he said
to say with the ambition of enlightenment.
Yeah, yeah, you could say that. Yeah, you could say that, but I said it different. So he's saying, by the time I'm in Tibet, trying to make sense of all these teachings, the idea, the link between those three extraordinary trainings was lost. And I want to see if you guys can make the link between these three extraordinary trainings. I've reversed them for you because that's a hint. What is the link between an extraordinary training on wisdom, understanding the way reality actually works, versus the illusion that if I get enough ice cream, I'll be happy? What is it that makes me happy? Really knowing that with a certainty that will deliver you outside of the cycles of suffering. Imagine having such certainty about the way the world worked that you just knew without a doubt that you're onto something like the Buddha, right? And says, oh, I've got it. Reality isn't that way, the way getting ice cream or getting this. That isn't happiness, although happiness appears there. There's suffering in that. There's a different way of being. That's actually the cause and effect solution to that suffering. I can be free from those disgusting tastes of vegan ice cream. I will enjoy every vegan ice cream taste. Every time Stephen puts any spoon, I'll be going, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. What's the link between understanding how reality really works without a doubt, without any problem in your mind, meditation, and ethics?
I feel like one leads to the next.
How?
Because if you have ethics, right, and you're following your vows, for example, right, and you're monitoring that, and that's going to lead to like training your mind, which is like the second one, and then like training your mind will help you, have the degree. Like each one.
Okay, did I put that there? Damn it.
You put direct perception of evidence underneath.
I gave you too many hints. Okay, more.
One simple point. Number one, if you're really living a good life and believe you're good and doing good and get good results, you let go of guilt and shame so that you're open to having a holy object, feeling good connection, which then opens you to have a great wisdom because you're not blocking it.
Okay, interesting. Give me more.
You can't.
Like I like that, explain it like that, but I want more.
You won't be able to meditate unless you're living an ethical life.
Why?
Because if you witness yourself disturbing the minds of others, your mind will be disturbed if karma is true, currently this is true. And meditation is the state that you're in when you have the direct perception of emptiness. It's one of the, I think it's one of the conditions for the direct perception of emptiness. But it's the highest, it's like the highest form of meditation.
It's so close, it's good, right?
There's a link though between understanding emptiness and morality, because you've got to understand that like if you don't understand why you're being moral, you wouldn't have quite the same motivation to be moral.
It's just the two wings of the bird. Right?
Now you're all giving me all these Buddhist two wings of the bird. I need you to think about it, because here will come the link, right? What's the metaphor for nirvana in visual metaphor? The moon, right? I'm giving you another hint there. What's the metaphor for a choppy mind, a mind that is disturbed? Waves in the water, right? What? Yeah, like a muddy turbulence. It's also not. It's good, but we're getting there. So we got a moon, which is perfect state of mind, free from the cycle. Yeah, we have this metaphor building, visual metaphor. It's not coincidence, it's not for no reason, right? There is a metaphor of the moon, which means perfect circle, right? Nice, it reflects on the surface of the water. If the water needs to be still in order for the reflection to be perceived, right? So for you to perceive, to have a mental experience, our minds are like a mirror, like that mirror of that lake or that body of water. If it's choppy, if you're perceiving yourself disturbing others' minds, which is the opposite of the extraordinary training on ethics, right? If I'm sitting there giving people that hate vegan ice cream, if I'm trying desperately to disturb their peace of mind as they're washing the dishes. He's leaving. Right? But I mean, it's a joke, but because I enjoyed it. He knows that. That's actually a good scene, because it was a nice banter. It was a really good naughtiness, which I appreciate. But if your mind, so we have to understand this big fundamental idea we cover here almost every week, which is karma and emptiness. Karma and emptiness. Karma and emptiness. Emptiness means that there is nothing, there's no nature in any object you can conceive of. There's no yumminess out of the vegan ice cream, and there's no perfectness out of a non-vegan ice cream. Those are dependent, those are empty of having those natures. The nature is forced upon us by our karma. Our mind is going, I hate vegan ice cream. I love vegan ice cream. The proof that the vegan ice cream isn't the source of that is that there's two people having the same thing with two different experiences. The experiences isn't in the ice cream. Ice cream is empty of that. Fair? So then who the hell put disgustingness in my mind in order for that to be projected, that karma or that karma? Who put it in my mind? I did. How is that recorded? Me watching me do things to others. You know that you watching you, even in the privacy of your own room? You know that one? The one that's getting away with things? That one is watching. That one is recording. And every time your mind has an awareness of you having done, said, or thought something, it is an imprint in that mind. And your mind will develop and grow that until it projects a reality on otherwise empty objects. Make sense? So, if I'm observing my mind not taking care of others' mental peace, yeah, I don't care about that person, I'll push in, constantly having some aspect of my mind not giving a rat's about other beings, that is not going to give me a result. That must give me a result, like everything else. Cause, effect. It's not like you're exempt from that. If your mind is watching you taking care of yourself above others, you're recording that. Every time you're like, I'm going to keep that for me, and your mind says, so they don't get it, so they don't get it, your mind is recording that. And we live by that code. We call it competition. We call it, you get a promotion if you could do that to that company. We thrive on that in the wheel. But Buddha's saying, or Tsongkhapa's saying, the connection for you to have a freedom from the cycle of suffering, which breaks down our every happiness, is you need to have your mind so clean, so still, that you can get the reflection of the moon. You can have a perception of the moon in your mind because you've stilled it through meditation, and the sources of the cause of a good meditation is having an undisturbed state of mind, which does not come, and this is a big deal, okay? We teach meditation in this room, and we don't tell everybody this, and we should, but we will eventually. I'm just rambling. Good meditation doesn't come from sitting like this. It might help. It doesn't come from going like this. I look good on Instagram. It really doesn't. Good meditation, a state of mind that is clear and can pierce to where you want it to go, does not come from studying a lot about meditation. It doesn't come from hours of sitting in one position. It doesn't come from hanging around Buddhists and meditators. I'm sorry. Where does it come from? A state of meditation where you are forced to experience your mind still and clicking right in there. Where does it come from? Yeah. Seeing your mind record taking care of other people's minds. Yeah? An ethical way of life will deliver you a sort of freedom from concerns and, I think, what did you call it? We call it the guilt and all this other stuff, right? Your mind isn't sitting there, isn't concerned about the repercussions, and it's got no cause for it. You've stilled it over practice and time. Yeah? And then, but on that basis, you can actually have a direct experience of what is versus what appears. That you need your mind still so it can reflect the moon. So Tsongkhapa was saying, at the time, in the 1400s, when I'm teaching this, that idea was almost lost. There's a bunch of Buddhists being religious, going, I'm not saying that there weren't Buddhists not having realizations, but I am saying in every human endeavor on the planet, once we get too lost in the bing, bing, bong, bong, boom, boom, we forget the real cause of what gives us the experiences we're seeking. Yeah? I love ritual. Ritual's amazing. I like processing through ritual. It's amazing. It internalizes things. But not if it's just bing, bing, bong, bong. Yeah? So Tsongkhapa was saying, even at that time, that connection between an ethical way of life, watching yourself, taking care of others, which will deliver a state of mind which is then capable of experiencing bliss, that connection was lost even at the time. I think there is a quote from him. Is that there? He also said, if our motivation is only to look good to others, then we've lost the point of ethics. You know, like, oh, I'm doing service work. I'm volunteering at rituals. So other people, can be impressed by you. He's like, don't even do that, right? Understand. He's begging you to really understand that your behavior in the planet is going to give you results based on what you are watching yourself do. So he's like, don't do it for any other reason than renunciation. Sick and tired of people like my mum ending up in hospital having that experience. Just sick and tired that the causes that I thought was going to make me happy end up there all the time. If cause and effect is true, that can also change. And if you don't want to aim that high, then at least remove unsatisfaction. Right? Remove the, I can't have enough ice cream. At some point, be happy with whatever ice cream comes to you. That's also plausible. Make sense? Somewhere in between.
That also goes to something that's the first time the connection I'm making. Why intention is so important? Because you watch your own intention.
Of course.
No one else sees it, but you see it. And that's a very deep seated, I've never That's the first time we're getting that connection.
That's awesome. That is like they say, 90-something% of the karma planted of you watching your mind doing something is intention. Because I could just give you this glass of water and go, oh, hi, Supriya, enjoy it. And you're all thinking, oh, nice, he's being nice to Supriya. And I'm thinking, stupid bitch, she's taking my last piece of water. But if I think that, who owns that? Who's going to get the result of that? Not Supriya, me. Yeah? So intention, it's more important than the actual words I'm saying. Now, if I did say those words, at least I'm going to be congruent. Here's stupid bitch having the water, right? I'm being honest, right? I'm going to get the karma of honest, yeah? But I'm also aware that those words will harm, yeah? And so I'm going to get honest back with a bunch of harm, yeah? So people are going to be bluntly honest on you fat balding old man, yeah?
So to get that clear reflection, you need to have that clear intention.
So anyway, important connection. The Vinaya Sutra is called Duwei Do. In Tibetan, actually isn't a real sutra. Sutra is usually the speech of the Buddha. It's actually a collection of a ton of works, 4 main sutra texts, and it is the main essence that is studied in the monastery, and it's the foundation of what we study here by Master Gunaprabha. Now, I talked a lot about ethics. I talked about discipline. I want to talk about prati moksha, which are, is that up there? Yeah. Vowed morality. Yeah. Vowed morality is a thing in these practices. So let's say that up to this point, we understood that my ethical behavior will create an imprint in my mind because I'm watching my intention of what I do, and I must have the experience of that in whatever experience I'm moving on to next, this life or the next. Okay with that? We're all okay with that? Sure? Do I need to say it again? No. We're okay there. So let's say now I live an ethical way of life. I'm a good boy. Why can't I just be a good boy and not have to make a promise, make a vow like the priest tried to make me do in the Catholic Church? Why is it important to try to make a vow, to take vow of morality as a practice? Why is that a practice? Why is that a thing? Why not just be good?
Because being good has a lesser, it's like a weaker effect. If you make a promise, then every action that you do, it's like supercharged. So you get closer to having the results that you're talking about, getting rid of death.
Because your mind knows.
Becoming enlightened.
Your mind knows that the promise you made. Like you know what you said you would do. And if you don't follow that, it's a greater.
Yeah, both answers are correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think of vows, or I guess specifically one side of morality as you're basically giving yourself the raw materials to do whatever you need to do. So it's your choice as to whether you can apply those raw materials, but if you're trying to lay out a concrete path, you're resourcing those things so you can.
Cool. But what I'm saying, well, why do a vow and not just be nice?
Well, there's 2 points to it though. Make the vow only if you keep it, then it gets stronger. But if you make the vow, you're going to constantly break. You better off not making the vow.
That's awesome. That's true. Yeah. Anyone else want to chip in?
Could this it links actions and speech to mind as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's all those answers together, but you nailed it insofar as, and you, right? So far as saying, I can just be good, right? I'm just going to be nice and try not to give vegan ice cream to people that hate it. Yeah? I'm just going to do that. But if I don't do it, who cares, right? No, then I'm doing it. If I make a promise, if I make a vow, my mind has an alert bell around it. My mind has constant awareness when I'm doing that and not doing that. Yeah, so the intention is stronger, the action is stronger. Yeah, I'm always keeping that as a boundary to what my mind is doing, Therefore, it's more constantly on my mind and I have some kind of energy around it, right? If I keep it, the energy is awesome. If I come close to breaking it, I'm like, stop myself from creating the causes for more suffering. If I keep breaking it, you're sort of screwed, but we'll talk about it later, right? It's true. So making a promise, because your intention and attention is supercharged, means the results of that karma will come faster and bigger. Because it's like you're really digging the soil around that seed and really putting a bunch of fertilizer on it, and it must grow more than those seeds that every now and then you care for and others don't. So making a promise, if you know what to make a promise about, that's important. If you are going to create a road to enlightenment, do you know which are the ethical codes that will get you there? Because out of the possible human behaviors, Buddhism says there are 84,000 different ways of being naughty, or of having your state of mind cycling through samsara. These are 84,000 mental afflictions. Yeah. So the way we think we are going to get happy, the way we think we're going to get peace by bombing someone else, isn't the way we're going to get peace. There's 84,000 of those. Yeah. And knowing which of those assuming 84,000 or a big number is true of possible human behaviors, that because we don't understand where happiness comes from, they will result in problems, at least happy for a little bit and then breaking. Which of those 84,000 are you going to address first? Which ones are the ones that will get you out of here faster? Anyone?
The biggest problem that you have.
Right, so the biggest ones, so if it's a roadway to awakening, and by this I mean a roadway for you to genuinely be at peace with your world, certain that you know where you're heading, and a sense of bliss and love for everything you touch and see. I'm saying that if you think that's your journey, if that's the journey we're talking about, what are the bold, big, chunky boulders on your way that you have to maneuver? Can you address them? Yeah? But Buddha said, dudes and dudesses, there is a bunch of, there's a top 10 list of the main things we all do that will help you get through those big boulders faster, right? And these are called the 10 non-virtues. Yeah, the top 10. Remember the 7 we referred to? This is 10 of those, the top 7 of those from here. And these are the foundation to all the other ethical systems. Yeah, because they say, you want to live, protect life. You don't want to live too much, don't care about other lives, just keep chewing up other lives, impacting negatively other lives. You want to get truth, then don't lie, tell truth. You want to be in strong bonds with humans, don't screw up other people's bonds. You can go through these lists, this list of top 10, and you can remove the main blockages between you and enlightenment. And so understanding that if it's possible for us to get free from mental afflictions, if it's possible for us, our mind, to be forced to have an amazing experience of life outside the circle, then we got to find out what are the main things we want to break down quickly, because tick tock, what are the 3 principles of death? It's going to happen, you don't know when, and the only thing that remains is the stuff you did with your mind as you became an engineer or cheated somebody with vegan ice cream, etc., etc., etc. I'm obsessed with vegan ice cream. So, who said this? I think Master Dharma Bhadra said this. Who spells it?
Well,
why did you write JTK?
Yeah, I think I might have made a mistake. That's why I'm considering. Anyway, this is a quote from, I can't remember who. Yeah, I think it is Dharmabhata, right? Yeah. I did a copy paste on the slide. That's why I paused. The essence is they're called individual freedom vows because for the individual applying these ideas, it will give your individual a result, your individual result. In other words, all of us do exactly the same thing for the next 10 years, but our intentions are slightly different. We will get the results of those intentions, even though we all did exactly the same thing. And so for you, Michael, you'd be reaching enlightenment before me because your motivation might be cleaner. Yeah? And you're able to keep those vows. Let me give you a couple of other things. Jason Kappa talks about 6 categories in the study of vow morality, of which we're going to cover most of them next week, but I'll give you a quick rundown on when you study Vinaya, which takes, I want to say 4 years in the monastery. You study from this commentary, and he talks about the vow's basic nature, and there are 4 schools of thought about what's a vow. If you really want to get into the essence of, I want to make the right vow, I really want to make the right impact on my mind, you want to find out, well, what the hell is a vow? What is it? Where does it sit? How does it make a difference? And what, do you have an idea? We're not going to go into it. Yeah, 4 different schools, blah, blah, blah. But you should get to understand, well, how is a vow working? What is it? Is it my consciousness perceiving my actions? Is it part of my mental continuum? Some schools say it's a physical thing that grows on you, right? It's like a cloak, yeah? Some schools say it's that plus a mental experience of that. I mean, if you really want to get into, well, why would vows work? This might be a good thing. Then we can break down into 8 categories or 8 types of these kinds of vows. Descriptions of the vows themselves, who can take them and who can't, why it would work for some and not for others, how you lose a vow we'll cover next week, what kind of things destroy them, and obviously at the end, all the benefits and all the good things of keeping these promises and how they should be transforming every experience. And I tell you, keeping vows, I didn't bring my book. Who's got your book? Who's got their book? Yeah? So that's where you keep your vows. Yeah, there's this practice where you're checking promises you make, the vows you 6 times a day to try and bring your mind on these big boulders that you're removing. Yeah, and depending on who you are, you get certain vows. But the essence of these vows are to turn away, to stop harming others. Pratimoksha vows are getting rid of the big boulders on the path to freedom, which is the habit of not really thinking about other people. So stop doing things that harm. So your mind stops recording, I'm harming, I'm harming, I'm harming. Yeah? And over time, those big boulders will be cleared away because you're no longer causing them. Yeah? With the vow. Now, what's left when you remove the boulders? There's a whole bunch of other medium-sized things which we can talk about, or we talked about already when we talked about these other vows.
Number 2, you have henna, 1 day.
Yeah, there's a Hinayana 1-day vow, there's a Mahayana 1-day vow, and I think in the Tibetan tradition, they no longer do the Hinayana 1-day vow, they just do the Mahayana 1-day vow. Yeah, yeah, you take 8 specific promises, yeah, which include fasting, it includes no sexual misconduct, no killing, no stealing, etc. The essence of a pratimoksha vow, like I said, is stopping the harm and their basis. So it says the turning away from harm, which is the first 7 of the 10 non-virtues, which we'll cover next week. And their basis, what are they talking about the basis? What are the basis of harming others, of saying stupid things or stealing or killing?
Ignorance.
Huh? Thinking those things. Okay? So then you have 10. The 7 stupid things we do on a regular basis, and the 3 mental things that are their basis. Good. Hannibal, welcome back. Okay. And like I said before, you've got to have renunciation, motivation to live this way of life should be renunciation. And renunciation doesn't mean, oh, I'm a Buddhist renunciant. It means you see what's happening to my mom. You see that, like, I'm thinking about it all the time now. Why the hell wasn't I thinking about it the day before that phone call? It was happening to my neighbor. It was happening to my friend. What, I'm pretending it doesn't happen? Yeah, we do. We live like that. We pretend it's not happening until it happens to us. And that's a kind of, that is also an action we are recording. That is also an action we are recording. Our awareness is generating that reality, and it must give a result equal to that. And that, if we understand that, we can change the outcome for real. Yeah. And so then there might be a question about what's a layperson's lifetime vows, and we'll just cover this for the sake of the question, and we'll end it a little bit after this. So you've seen these 5 before, right? No killing a human or a human fetus, the lifetime person's vows, no stealing anything of value. I'm going to go in reverse and ask you, what would making a concerted effort for the rest of my life not to kill something I call human, what would the result be of not doing that and actually trying to do the opposite, trying to take care of human life? What would be the karmic result if you're watching yourself constantly protecting life?
You would stay healthy.
Yeah, you should get healthy, right? You should have breaks in this broken body when bad things come to it. Yeah? Or at some point, let's take that to the nth degree. Let's get dreamy.
You live forever.
Yeah, you don't have the conception of death, because death was also based on the emptiness of that experience. It doesn't have a nature like the ice cream. Something is forcing me to experience that transition, that experience as a death. Yeah, and when you get to more advanced practices, you see how the practice of death meditation turns on, and that's why we're teaching it as a basis. If it's empty of having a nature, and the nature comes from something I've got in my mind, you're beginning to plant the seeds to not see that as death. And that means freedom from the big red monster. And it's not fairy tale story, it's drawn in fairy tale story to try to help us make sense of it. But the reality, like I just explained, that the ice cream doesn't have a nature radiating out terribleness or yumminess, that comes from us. Once you study that karma and emptiness to be true of absolutely everything, that is also true of what we call death, what we call me, what we call human, what we call dying, what we call living, empty of having that nature. The fact that you're sitting there breathing through your nostrils as if it doesn't have a cause, it didn't come from anything, is actually a projection of your mind based upon sensations that you're saying, oh, I'm breathing oxygen. You don't even think about it. It's cause. Some people in the next hour, somewhere in the United States, won't have that experience. It stops. And you could say it's a car accident, you could say it's this, that, but the fact is that their mind stopped perceiving that experience as life.
That's the ambulance.
That's the ambulance. So I want you, we can talk about it next week, but stealing, it sounds like a list, and I'm trying to avoid you thinking of it as thou shalt, right? What is the result of you watching your mind taking care of other people's shit?
You have everything you need.
Yeah, like, oh, take care of her stuff. She worked hard for it, take care of his stuff. Don't try and take what's not given, right? Because if you do, what's the result? Whatever you have gets gone, right? Because it's your intention in your mind that's creating the experience you're having. Same for not telling the truth. Now, lots of people have problems with number 5, right? And I just want to talk about it a little. Oh, we're living in the modern age, we're fine, we can do substances or whatever. right? I don't want to be hard-ass about it, but the Buddha did say, he picked up a blade of grass and goes, whoever has alcohol as much as there is on the tip of this grass is not a Buddhist. He's not a wake-up artist, cannot call themselves a wake-up artist, yeah? Why is he saying that about alcohol? And so whether distilled from plants or chemicals, he says. Why?
The plan is to wake up, not numb yourself.
It'll cause you to most likely not be ethical.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so that if your mind is dulled just a little bit, to not really be alert and focused enough, like we're trying to tame, dulwa our minds on meditation, right? We're trying to bring our mind to tame. If you just let it relax a little bit, baby, yeah, it might not be focused enough to see when you're coming to the edge of breaking any one of the promises you've made yourself that it should be delivering your own mind to see something important, yeah? And it's also numbing you from reality, yeah? So it's not like, oh, you're going to be a bad person if you drink alcohol. It's not that at all. It's actually, do you have cojones enough to look at reality as it is without having a blurred vision about it? Can you face what is? And can you sustain that for the rest of your life? Are you that committed to waking up if you understand the theory? Yeah, and that's what that is. And then there's also another advice, an additional advice for lay people, which is not going against the advisors on refuge, which those of you who have these vows should know them, right? In essence, it means stop hurting other people once you've taken refuge in the Buddha Dharma and Sangha. Yeah, you've seen those before. So lastly, I want to highlight the importance of an ethical way of life. It's not a thou shalt, although it will read that way. Yeah, it's just a shortcut. Somebody that has gotten out of the cycle has gone, dudes and dudesses, you want a fast track from the 84,000 possible choices? Here's 10, try them. When you get the results of them, it will lead you to the next, and it will lead you to the next, because then you'll be on that upward spiral. But get rid of these things that, if they're on the top 10, we're thinking about them all the time. Harming life, yours is more important than theirs. We think that all the time. Yeah, if you're sensitive to not harming life, you'd be watching if there's a pencil on the floor and somebody could trip on it, your mind would be on it. Be like, I don't want someone to get hurt. If you're that kind of sensitive being, then you've already got that kind of training coming up for you. Lastly, I want to say, it'll change your sensibility to your spiritual capacity, to Dharma, to the way that things actually function. Your capacity to focus on Vinaya, your ethics, your intention behind your actions towards others will increase your capacity for awakening, for Dharma. And if you've already come into this world with a tendency, like Rachel, right? We went to Nepal with a bunch of people. Rachel goes there. We've done many, many trips to go take care of the sick kids and the orphanages, and we're very good Buddhists, right? And Rachel goes there, doesn't give a rat's about the kids. She's like, look at the dogs. Oh my God, and the kitten. And I've been over and over, year after year, walk over the dead dog. Like, I'm not even thinking about those creatures. And that's all she sees. She's like, guys, we've got to help these beings too. I'm like, oh my God, yes, we do. Duh, right? Thank you. Of course, she gave a rat's about the kids, but she cared more. She cared more about the kittens. Yeah. If you have, and you all do, I feel, if you're in this room, from the conversations I've had with each of you have some sweetness, some kindness, some caring for others. You wouldn't be here on a Thursday night instead of getting drunk if you didn't. Yeah? You have some kind of tendency towards these goodnesses already. They didn't come from nowhere. They were caused. Yeah? You could say, oh, my mom helped me, or my dad helped me, or whatever. They're the conditions. You can only plant your own karmas. You cause them. You cause the goodnesses that you are currently living through. The care for other beings, the caring for tiny creatures. You made them. And they're not going to stay if you don't keep building them. Another call to action for Dua, for Vinaya. You got to keep the inertia of those kindnesses going if you want to continue this path to enlightenment. So in essence, we actually become what we do, physically, verbally, and mentally. Like we began this class doing those 3 prostrations. Whatever the intention was in your mind, that's what you become. The link between how you behave and how you're recording your mind, the intention behind it is what you are. There's just a time delay between that gives you a result. And that is the now. It's not just reading the list or the priest said so. Bullshit. Yeah? The list might be correct, but if they can't tell you that your mind is recording this and therefore your mind will be forced to experience this, then you've missed the entire point of Vinaya. Yeah? And next week we'll cover on the last study on Vinaya. Now we're going to dedicate this to others quickly, and we can, yay, hooray, finish at 8:30, 9:30.
Oh my God.
I know, weird.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, I'm trying.
Can we dedicate this to your mom?
Let's dedicate this to my mom.
Sashi Purki Jishin Totram Virablishi
Inde Yupadi
Sangye
Shindu Mite Gupadi Yokun Namda Shinla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamandavakam Niryatayami Nidokun Sunam Yeshe Soksoshin Sunam Yeshe Vejunwe Namba Kunito Parsho. Thank you so much for saying that, Steve. And thank you for having the courage to hear these things, if you heard them. Thank you for the courage to just face up for life as it is. Yeah. Now let's party. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Oh, I want to say hi to Zoe.